Hello, everyone. Join me as we begin to ground ourselves in our movement practice today by deepening our breath. We will be focusing on full body flexibility and mobility, with the end goal of this workout to relieve any pain and feel more energized. So let's start today by taking a big deep inhale through our nose and out our mouth, holding that inhale for 5 and exhaling for 8. Oftentimes we take too short of breath throughout the day and it spikes our stress level, and I like to take deep breaths through my belly, as I call them belly breaths, to really let my body know that I'm safe and coming back to the present moment. Let's go ahead and start waking up our body now. You can roll out those wrists, elongate those fingertips, and we're going to start by relaxing our shoulders and just rolling our neck and our head from one shoulder to the other in big, long circles. Let's go ahead and do one more last big roll around in a circle before we go ahead and switch directions and take it over in the other way for 5 big rolls. And during this time, in the beginning of my practice, is when I really like to set an intention. Before, I think setting an intention can really heighten the experience, the movement experience that we are working on together. So whether that be your breath today or just feeling more present in your body, why don't you go ahead and set an intention for the rest of this practice that you can come back to when your mind starts to wander. Let's bring our right arm across our chest, pulling our shoulder down and pulling our left arm in. And we're just going to go ahead and stretch out the bicep here and roll out the wrists in both directions. And now let's switch arms. Our seated position, we are going to drop that left hand down to our thigh and really reach over with our right arm, keeping that chest nice and proud. And we're going to switch directions on the other side as well, just going back and forth here, trying to get deeper into our stretch on the side of our backs each time we go from one direction to the other. We also want to make sure that our back is nice and straight and we're not, again, hunching over, and a good indicator of this is making sure that our chest is open towards the sky. You can go ahead and reach forward for a slight forward fold before we transition into our next movement. So we're going to go into some cat-cows here to start to mobilize the spine. So I am inhaling, opening up my chest, pulling my shoulders down, and then exhaling, rounding my spine, tucking my chin into my chest. And there's no specific rhythm to this. I'm really just going with my breath, feeling my body, staying in positions that feel a little bit more tight or restricted. Just letting myself flow with each breath. going to go ahead and stay in this position on our hands and our feet, making sure our shoulders are aligned with our wrists. And we're going to reach up with our left hand, opening up our chest towards the sky, and then threading that left hand through underneath the right hand as we place our weight on our shoulder. We're doing a move called thread the needle, and we're going to feel a nice stretch in our shoulder. The main thing that we want to make sure is that we're reaching as far as we can to the opposite side of the wall before placing our shoulder down to the ground to really feel that stretch. This is also going to be really good for your mobility in your thoracic spine or the mid part of your back. Let's go ahead and take that right arm up and do the same thing. So again, opening up your chest towards the sky as you rotate your spine underneath your left arm, this time pressing through to the floor. And here you can take some nice inhalations and exhalations as you come up, and as you exhale, you breathe out. Reach up towards the sky and thread through. Nice job. Now let's go ahead and take that down. We're going to tuck our toes underneath our heels, press back into a downward dog, and we're going to walk out the back of our legs here, just one at a time. As we bend one leg, we straighten the other. So we're going to go into a little flow here from a downward dog, pressing down into a plank, and then untucking those toes, pressing up into a cobra type position. And as we're done with that, taking our inhale, we're going to press back into a downward dog and pedal out those feet and ankles again. So let's keep that flow going, pressing through down to the floor, pressing up into a cobra, and then pressing back into a downward dog. Remembering to take it slow and to breathe, since we will be upside down with our head, making sure that we don't get dizzy as we come up and down. From here, we're going to activate those hip flexors. So I'm going to take my left leg, I'm going to straighten and point it, and I'm just going to take some big circles in one direction, making sure that my hips are staying square with my body. So I'm only rotating my hip, I'm not turning my body to the outside. Now I'm going to take that same leg and I'm going to bend my knee and open my hip towards the opposite wall, getting a nice stretch here. Again, reminder to keep my hips as square as possible. I'm then going to thread my leg through into a low lunge, keeping my back leg straight and my core nice and tucked. I'm going to pulse here for a few seconds just to activate that hip flexor even more. I'm going to bring both hands inside of my foot as I turn to reach with my left hand, opening up my chest towards my left leg. And then I'm going to place both hands back down on the mat and open up to the opposite side. So my right arm comes up, my chest opens up on the right side, and I'm just going to alternate here back and forth, making sure again that my back leg is staying as straight as possible. A few more breaths here. You all are doing a wonderful job. Last one. And let's go ahead and drop that back knee down to the floor, releasing our tucked toes. And we're going to shift our weight backwards as we extend that front leg onto our heel. We're going to flex that foot up and just slowly rock back and forth here. Just loosening up that calf and that hamstring. And we're going to play around with pressing forward into our low lunge again, but this time we're going to be on our knee, making sure that I'm not sinking so far into my hip flexor that I have a little tilt, but I'm staying nice and aligned with my core. So I'm just going to shift my weight back and forth here as I take a few deep breaths in each position. Play around with as you come back onto your ankle, rotating that hip to the left and to the right instead of back and forth. Awesome job. Let's go ahead and press forward and get out of that position. Just to reset, I'm going to come into a quick child's pose. Take a few deep breaths, release some tension in my spine, maybe even press my fingertips into the ground to get a little shoulder stretch here. And you can either flip to the other side of the mat or just simply get back into your downward facing dog, and we're going to do the same thing on the other leg. First, by starting to pedal out our feet again, alternating as we step. Maybe we can press our hands into the ground a little bit deeper so we can get a little bit more release on that spine in this position. And I'm going to bring my right leg up and starting to go around in big circles in one direction. Again, making sure my hips are staying as square as possible, and I'm just opening up my hip and not opening up the entire right side of my body. And now as I bring that leg up, I'm going to bend that leg behind so it reaches the back side of my wall, opening up my hip even more. Maybe even flexing your feet to get a deeper stretch. And then I'm going to thread that knee through into a low lunge. Again, keeping my back leg straight as I pulse up and down. I'm going to now bring both hands to the inside of that right foot as I begin to open up my arm, reaching towards the sky and opening up my chest at the same time. And then placing my hand back down on the mat and alternating sides with my left hand. Reaching and opening. Reaching and opening. Inhale and exhale. Let's go ahead and drop that left back knee, untuck the toes, and shift my weight back onto my right heel. Taking a nice deep breath here as I then push back forward into my low lunge. My left knee is on the ground, making sure that my core is still tucked so I'm not arching my back and overextending in those hip flexors. Then again, pressing back and maybe rocking my heel or my leg from left to right, whatever feels good for you today. Beautiful. As I come back up with this next lunge, I'm simply going to take my right hand and press my leg outwards. Just for a few seconds. And now I'm going to get into one of my favorite poses, and this is the pigeon pose. I really like this because there's a lot of health benefits to sitting in a pigeon pose for a long period of time. It does help improve the range of motion in the hips and can also strengthen the muscles in the hips and support the lower back to relieve any lower back pain. So here I'm in the pigeon pose. If your knee is at a 90-degree angle, the harder it's going to be in that position. So if it's feeling difficult for you, go ahead and bring that knee a little bit closer to your chest. And all I'm doing here is just walking up and down just to get a better range of motion and see wherever feels a little bit tighter. And as you take a few ups and downs there, I'm now going to rotate onto my other side and do the same thing, starting with that low runner's lunge again, just to press out that hip. So I'm taking my left leg, pressing my left hand with my left leg outward for a few seconds. And then helping my left leg over into as close as I can get to a 90-degree angle that's comfortable for me. And I'm going to begin walking it up and down. Beautiful job. Alright, as we transition into this next pose, we are going to come onto our knees. We're going to open up those knees as wide as we can externally as we begin to place our feet behind us. So the tops of our feet are facing towards the wall in front of us and the backs of our feet are facing behind us. In this position, I'm going to begin rocking back and forth just to sit in my hip flexors a little bit more. You can take this into big circles when you feel comfortable and when your hips start to relieve any tension and loosen up a little bit. And the big thing that you want to make sure here is that your back and your core are staying, your back is neutral and your core is nice and engaged. We don't want to be sinking to where we are in a pelvic tilt because it can cause some For some mobility here, I'm just going to simply begin by picking up my left knee and then my right knee, alternating sides, making sure that I'm staying as neutral as possible and I'm not trying to shift my weight forward. All of this motion is coming from my hips. Go ahead and sit that weight back and come out of that frog position. And we're going to shift our weight back onto our butts. As I'm going to take my left leg out into a 90-degree angle in front of me, my torso is going to be facing this left knee. And I'm simply going to start by switching my hips. This is called a 90-90 hip switch. So I'm just rotating as I keep that 90-degree angle on both my left and my right knee. And as I come from one side to the other, I'm just making sure that my torso is following me the entire way around. If it's difficult for you to keep your hands out in front of you, you can have your hands placed behind you for additional support. Alright, now let's go ahead and bring those legs out into a straddle or a V position. And we're just going to start by tapping our toes and alternating left to right. Making sure that I'm not hunching over with my back. I'm trying to keep my back and chest nice and upright. Proud chest, as you would say. And I'm going to bring my left elbow into my left knee and see if I can arch all the way over to the side. And for an alternative here, if you want to bring that right knee into your inner thigh, that might be an easier position. But I'm going to stick with extending my legs. And all I'm doing is just rotating sides here, left to right as I stretch over, keeping that proud chest, reaching towards the opposite side of the wall or as far as I can reach. Taking a nice inhale and exhale. Just a few more. Alright, now stay with me as I begin to shift my weight forward. Reminder to keep that back as flat as possible. And I want you to extend your fingertips out to the center as far as you can go and just start to walk your hands from one side of your leg to the other. Deep breaths here. Nice job. I know that one can be a little bit of a doozy, but you did amazing. Alright, so this next one we're going to do some lateral lunges. So I am going to step out with my right foot, making sure that as I bend down my right foot, the ankle is staying planted on the floor the entire time. Now the opposite ankle, the ankle that doesn't really have that much weight, is going to lift, the toes are going to lift off the ground, the ankle is going to stay on the ground, but my foot is going to flex. So just alternating sides here, maybe using the floor for assistance. Again, making sure that I'm tucking that core nice and strong. My back is staying straight, neutral, and not rounded. My chest is upright. And let's go ahead and give that one a break. Come out and let's just go ahead and cradle our head in between our hands, rocking back and forth, releasing any tension in our backs. You can place those hands down on the floor and just shift your weight back and forth in this standing straddle. Let's walk those feet a little bit closer together and we're going to get into a yogi squat now. So I'm squatting down deeply and I'm pressing my elbows into my knees to deepen that stretch. And I'm going to start by rotating my right arm up to the sky, getting some spinal rotation in there, and then coming back into my yogi squat and then alternating to my left hand up to the sky. And as I rotate, I'm pressing with the opposite elbow into my knee to make sure that I'm staying open. We're going to continue to do the yogi squat, but this time I'm going to reach my fingers down to hold my toes. As I stand up, straighten the backs of my knees, and then come back down into a yogi squat. My head is just following this motion as I look through as I come up, and then look up as I come down. Maybe bring that focus back to your intention if you feel that your mind is beginning to wander. Nice job. Let's go ahead and transition onto our backs now. I'm going to lift my knees right above my pelvis. My arms are going to be out to a T. And I'm going to begin by dropping my hips to the right and looking over my left shoulder. And then dropping my hips to the left and looking over my right shoulder. Go ahead and bring those knees to your chest. Maybe closing your eyes. Focusing again on your intention. And we are going to transition over to our bellies now. As my feet are going to lay flat on the floor, tops laying flat. My head is going to be down on the mat, and I'm going to extend my right arm straight out while my left arm is going to be placed into the floor. My fingertips are going to be pressing into the floor, as I simply take that left leg over my right leg and press that leg into the floor. You're going to feel a nice deep shoulder stretch in your right shoulder. This really opens up our chest here. It's one of my favorite upper body openers for us who tend to sit on the computer doing work and we're hunched over a lot. Really gets our shoulders nice and drawn back. Now, taking a few deep breaths here. Once I'm done, I'm going to come back to my starting position. This time my left arm is going to come out. My right hand is going to be placed and pressing into the floor. And I'm bringing my right leg over my left leg to feel that nice shoulder stretch. Nice job. Meet me back in a seated position where I am going to take my right leg and I'm going to cross it over my left leg. Then I'm going to take my left elbow and I'm going to press it into my right leg as I twist towards the right side of my body. This is a great position for forgiveness. It is a great position to release anything you might be holding on to. You really feel a lot of this in the side of your hip as well as your back. Let's go ahead and switch sides now. We take that left knee over the right knee, pressing our right elbow into our left knee and gazing over our left shoulder. Staying in this position as long as you like, and then when you're ready, coming out, coming back into a seated position, and taking some simple rotational twists with our spine to the left and to the right. And as we end today, I just thank you all for showing up for yourself today, for letting yourself move in a positive space. And may peace, love, and light be upon you all. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And I hope that you feel rejuvenated, energized, more mobile, more flexible, and maybe even more creative as you go on with your day. I'm just taking this next few minutes of our session, ending it with some deep breaths, closing out my intention, folding over. Thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you back here real soon.